Radio. It's Tuesday evening, and it's just 6 p.m. And this is the Spiritual Discussion Program. I'm Saad here in Southeast London, in Bromley, and with me is Gregory. Gregory, are you there?
Hello.
Welcome, Gregory. Where are you? I think I know where you are, but just tell us where you are and how is the weather there?
Well, I've been in Brussels and weather is beautiful, but
Okay.
still a bit chilly.
Okay. I would say earlier today here in London it has been bright, blue skies and warm, and I would say even like 19 degrees, so quite nice. But right now it is overcast, but not cold. I can't say it's cold at all. So yes, welcome listeners. As I said, this is the Spiritual Discussion Program, and I want to just celebrate with you. This is our 5-year anniversary of this show. Today actually is the 5-year anniversary, 20th of April 2016. We started this show on Bless Radio, and yes, it's a big achievement. So we thank you for being with us, and we are grateful to be allowed the opportunity to come every week and present you the Grail message in the light of truth by Uprushin. That is the aim of our show, to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge, as I mentioned, in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushin. And the topic we are having tonight, it is titled The Bandage Falls. The Bandage Falls. And you might be wondering what that means. Basically, it's written from the foreword of the Grail message. It's the first line. It begins with the bandage falls. So I will talk about that a bit more as the show goes on. So just want to invite you to join us with any question or comments about this topic tonight, the bandage falls. You can contact us on our UK number. It is 07939 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 7939 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail message? The Grail message, in the light of truth, by Uprushin, is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized, and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover, through the intuitive perception, if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the 5 senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Uprushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, I want to remind you the topic we're discussing tonight is titled The Bandage Falls. The Bandage Falls. And you might be wondering, what does this title mean or topic mean? And I just want to say that it is taken from the foreword of the Grail message, which is called For Your Guidance. And just to give that context, I'm going to just read the first lines so that it all makes sense. So this is From Your Guidance, from the Grail message in the Light of Truth by Abdrushin in the foreword. And it starts, the bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. Gregory, there's a lot that is said in those words, and our title tonight is The Bandage Falls. So the immediate question is, the word bandage, it sounds like a mysterious or out of place. And so, I mean, initially when you think about the word bandage, you think of it as the physical bandage, which I don't want to necessarily go to the dictionary meaning today because that's not very appropriate, but it's like, oh, there's something like either we are injured, or maybe we are blind or something like that. So I just want to ask you, Gregory, in this context, what do we mean by the bandage? The bandage. Yeah.
Well, thanks for this particular question. I think it's clarity of the question will provide so much for many to understand the context of this work, which we have been discussing over the waves for about 5 years now. To have a bit clearer view, it's important to consider the scenario of yourself with a bandage over your eyes. Whenever one has a bandage or a towel or something to prevent your eyesight from perceiving further than the bandage or that obstacle, one can already imagine one's view. It only means it is so very limited. And it also means one will miss out on further experiences beyond the bandage because one is unable to take those external, what is further than the bandage, those external experiences in. the consequences one may also imagine. At the same time, one can also take that view of bandage, consider that you can see, but your ears are blocked. Once you consider or just imagine the experiences, it means all words, music, all those ones are unable to sink in. They are completely meaningless. At best, you can see, but what goes in through the ears, one of the five senses granted to us for experiencing, has been impaired. To take it further, you see, with the bandage, you are still alive. With hearing, you are still alive. If one were to put a sort of obstacle which will not enable us to breathe further, that one has immediate dire consequences. So one can already imagine what a bandage, physically, what it means. A limitation to further impressions that would have come beyond that obstacle of a bandage. That is the context in the physical sense. However, our discussions are not limited only to physical discussions, but also to non-physical discussions. So, the context of a bandage in the spiritual sense goes further. It means, therefore, that those expressions, those experiencing, which would have touched the spirit, which experiencing are profitable for the spirit to grow and mature, those experiences have been blocked for one reason or the other. However, if the personality strives, even in the physical sense, to go beyond the bandage, that means it strives deep within itself to ensure those experiences reach it, the personality that needs it, then that personality is able to perceive brighter colors, not just the white and black in that limited range. It's as if the whole universe is speaking, is able to perceive the undulations, the weavings within the whole universe in accordance with its capacity. Then it's as if that initial obstacle have been overcome.
Thank you, Gregory, for going into such detail in your answer for what is this bandage. You've talked about the physical side of it, and then there's a non-physical side as well. And obviously, this bandage, you refer to it like a barrier, blocking our view, you could say. You gave the example at the beginning about eyesight, your eyesight being blocked, and you talked about your hearing being blocked. And of course, it can refer to other senses, the other five senses that we are using. That's the physical senses. and then you moved on to the non-physical, without going specifically on each of those. What is this non-physical? But it is a blockage. That's what you've said, preventing us to see, and we use that word in a very global sense, the word see. So, Gregory, I mean, there's so many questions from what you've just said there. What is the bandage blocking? That's what the first question you wonder, or so many questions you wonder actually. But what is this bandage blocking or preventing us from seeing? Because the way you talked about it, it was like it's such a I can say herd obstacle. Use the word obstacle. It's such an obstacle, but even we don't know what is it we're trying to see and what is the obstacle even. So I don't want to confuse people too much, but I just want to understand, Gregory, what are we? What is the bandage blocking us from seeing? What is it? Yes, I mean we have the eyes, we have our ears, we do use them, and we let's say we are sensitive with them, but somehow you've said there is a blockage there, a barrier. So what is it that we are not seeing?
Very simply, in our day-to-day experiences, or week or month or yearly experiences, many of the impressions which assail us or strike us, we are unable to know the motives. Very rarely are we able to ascertain what the motive is. The reasons for this are varied. But basically, when there is such a bandage or there is such an obstacle, which does not really mean it is bad, because there are many times in which many may not need to know the motive behind, which could also be a blessing to them. But basically, there is an obstacle which sort of hasn't granted us the opportunity to understand, in line with our maturity, whatever those motives are. So for many, they are unable to determine, maybe due to their immaturity, whether the motive of some challenges assailing you are for their benefit. It's as if they lack some personal conviction.
Thank you for that answer. When you were answering, I immediately got this impression in my mind that yes, there are many things we don't know. You know, why is this happening to us or happening to someone else? You know, why is there such injustice? Those things even you hear in the news, or even which are happening in our lives, and we don't know why it's happening. And then we start making our own speculation. Maybe this person is to blame, or maybe I am to blame. You know, I don't want to use too much extreme example, but let's just to give one, just to make the picture, emphasize a picture. Let's say somebody is raped and they feeling guilty. Why it happened to me? You know, what did I do that made this happen happen? And you mentioned earlier, Gregory, about, I know I've chosen a very, let's say, emotive, you could say, subject example, you could say, but just to emphasize, when something dramatic as this, you know, that life-changing, you can say, happens to someone, you start wondering, what has happened here? Why is this happening to me? So, Gregory, when you were talking about the bandage and the block, the barrier not being able to see something, is that what you mean? That we don't know why something happens to us?
To some extent, yes, because it is so varied. The motives, the core motives on the earthly or the non-earthly are so varied, but these experiences serve a particular purpose. These purposes can only be understood by the personality that it has a great impact on. For some of these experiences are so dire, or they shake us to our core. And there are some who then open up in asking questions and strive to see what's or the motive, what lies behind it. Why did I have to go through all this? Could it have been otherwise? These are the questions which, assail very many. And it is these that we all wish to examine today. Whatever answers or solutions are suggested, those themselves must be examined only in the process of, in quotes, struggle to understand these things aright in accordance with the simple laws of nature. Only in that process can one gain some understanding into the motives of all of these things.
Thank you for that, Gregory. You mentioned motives there, why something is happening, and so I just want to go again to this word bandage, and let's say look at the topic tonight, which is the bandage falls, but we're just focusing on the word bandage for the time being. What I'm trying to understand, Gregory, is there are things that we don't know why they happen to us, and there is a question within us to find the answer, why, or how something happens. It doesn't have to be something big and severe, but it could be something that we want to understand. And by putting the word bandage, we've said we are blocked from seeing something. So what comes in my mind about it is, Gregory, the way we are viewing something at this moment, let's say, that it doesn't allow us to see why and how something is happening. So I'm going to ask you, Gregory, is there some special ability that we have that we are not using, that that we need to now discover that, actually that's how we can explain this, what is happening. So I'm not talking about some super magic ability, just because we are talking about real life, and people do want answers to questions in their life. So my question, Gregory, is the way we are using the means that we have. We mentioned about the 5 senses. That seems not enough to, let's say, see the full picture, or let's say the bigger picture. I don't want to say about the full picture, but maybe the bigger picture. So is there a way, Gregory, to be able to see the bigger picture that we are not using our ability? Is there an ability that we are not using, Gregory? That's my question, that to see the bigger picture.
The so-called bigger picture, that means trying to understand. One is using the expression understand. That is basically some structure, some recognition of what lies behind the facade which has been presented to us. To do that, To have a good grasp, there is the preparation of oneself, albeit very gradually, for what is it that needs to have a good grasp? Is it the human being of flesh and blood? Is it the flesh and the blood that wishes to have the understanding? Or is it the human brain that needs to store information which can be accessed at any time? Or what goes beyond the human brain that itself is the owner of the physical body, of which the brain is only an instrument of storing information, and that owner, that personality, being able to make use of the physical body as it's like a pen or a pencil or an instrument for experiencing in an earthly manner. Of course, there is, on the one hand, the physical body, which is the seat of the human intellect, and on the other hand, the personality itself, which personality is not of the physical body, but is of the spirit, the inner core, which really is the one that experiences. The physical body merely is an instrument that passes information externally and collects it in the brain, and one way or the other, through the back brain and through its vibration, pass all these very strong external expressions backwards, such that the human spirit can make use of it, learn from it, and experience it. These are the very strong human emotions. That tool which bridges the brain and the spirit, one may refer to it as the intuitive perception. There are more details that may be discussed along this line, but it's good to state the brief outlines, the key things that one may see before one goes into details.
Thank you so much for that, Gregory. We just opening this topic, going into it deeper and deeper. I can see you can say many more questions following now. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. The topic we are discussing tonight is the bandage falls. The bandage falls, and that's taken from the introduction in the Grail message called For Your Guidance. the first page, and it starts with the bandage falls. And just to continue it, to complete the sentence, the bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And also, just to those of you who are listening, you will know this. We are broadcasting right now on blessradio1.com. That's the number one, blessradio1.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and then type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one, and then space live stream. That's the live show. And if you want to listen to the recording, which we put it on YouTube the next day, you can listen, go to youtube.com, and then again in the search box type in Bless Radio 1, the number one, and then space Grail message, and then the topic, which is tonight, the bandage falls. Also, you can listen to our previous shows. And also, just want to say, we are celebrating our 5th year anniversary of our show, Spiritual Discussion Program, on Bless Radio. Now, Gregory, this last question that you replied, you know, I asked about what is it that bandage is stopping us from seeing, or is the tool that we are using to see what we need to see? What is this barrier? You know, what is the tool that we're meant to be using? Sorry, and you've talked about the physical senses, and then you talked now about the intuitive perception or intuition, which people do, let's say, are aware of, but maybe they don't realize its importance or its necessity even, you know, in reference to what we're talking about now, about having this big picture, as I mentioned earlier, seeing that picture or understanding. Now, I want to sort of break it down, what we are looking at. So I think you did mention earlier, Gregory, that we have a limited view. So the bandage we have, it does give us a limited view. So maybe we should just understand what are the capabilities of the different abilities that we carry within us. What are the capabilities of it? So the 5 senses, Gregory, I know we are very familiar with them. Can you just give us the context of the operation of these 5 senses? And then, yeah, and then we'll continue further.
One thing is not quite clear when one said the context. The so-called 5 senses, I hope one can enumerate them: the sense of seeing, of smell, of touch, of hearing. Is there another one?
My mind has forgotten as well. I will have to come back. So you've said 4 of them. I can't think of anything else right now.
Is it of feeling, physical feeling? I'm not quite
Yes.
sure. Or smell? All these ones are there.
You said smell, touch, listening, and seeing. And so that's 4. And I can't think of the 5th one, but I will find out. I'll find out.
Of hearing, I'm not quite sure. That's
Yes.
Now, these are what one may refer to as the externals. These tools collect information, and this information is deposited in the brain, in the frontal brain. What then happens is that there is the back brain. This back brain needs to receive these collated pieces of information. That means they have to be transformed to the manner in which the back brain can absorb these external expressions. The back brain then transforms them, and via one's intuitive perception, transfers them to the spirit, or the spirit within the human soul as experiences. The reverse of it is that the vibrations of the spirit within the human soul pass through the back brain and then to the frontal brain and acts as what one may call solutions to challenges which has assailed the personality in his or her everyday living. This is only a summary. There is so much attached to it. There is so much attached to it because the blood vibrations also come in. And that is why for many who take excessive alcohol, that tends to cause a variation in the transmission of the impressions to the spirit or from the spirit, where one sees all sorts of distorted images. Well, these are details that many can discuss over millennia. So basically, the personality you see with the physical body is only an instrument to collect or that is used for experiencing here on the physical earth, because that is the only instrument that is available for it to experience. Although the human personality may be in the neighborhood of the earth, but is unable to grasp or understand what happens on the earth or to participate fully with the strong impressions in the earthly environment, because it lacks the physical body. As soon as it has the physical body and the channels through which it may use, then impressions can start flowing. These impressions, as directed or as powered by man's intuition. If man is not perturbed by the frontal brain, that means if it has not been brought into excessive activities, then the strong impressions of the spirit are made available, and the frontal brain will then act as the executive director, knowing the knowing the sensitivities of the earth, is now able to know how to go about it.
Thank you for that, Gregory. A listener has kindly given a list of the 5 senses, and I will just read them out. We talked about, one moment. Okay, here we go. It's touch, sight, hearing, smell, and taste. Taste was the one we couldn't think of that, but that is the 5th one. So touch, sight, hearing, smell, and taste. And also a listener has said, happy 5th anniversary to the spiritual discussion team. So thank you for that, listener, for sending us our good wishes to us. Gregory, thank you for the answer you gave. It's clear. What I can say is that looking at the human being, we carry a lot of abilities, and some things, let's say, we use it in a very familiar way, and then others maybe we are not so familiar, or it appears that we are not so familiar. And what I want to say about this is that it's like, we need to be before I go into that, Greg, I just want to say, we come on this earth, we are always like, we start as a baby and grow into a child and so on. It's all about like learning, you're growing and maturing. So these abilities, Gregory, that you've talked about, which we know the 5 senses, they seem to be present from the beginning. And then you've mentioned about the finer intuition, you could say, sensitive sense. Is that to be developed, Gregory? Just like we say, we learn, we are growing on this earth as a baby, turning into an adult, developing our abilities. Those 5 senses seem to be present all this time. But this intuitive sense, is that something we have to develop, or is it also like active, fully active?
The intuitive impression is always available. The pattern or the difference has always been the way it is used. Now, if you approach an artist, one is surprised that you have an artist, many or some, who have not gone to any school, yet that ability seems to be there. Then you ask yourself, I thought these abilities are supposed to be developed in school, but that is not the case. And then there are also others who are able to perceive many of the motives behind some other activities. They did not go to school to study this. Well, basically, one can talk about, as far as we know, which is this one earth life. Therefore, one may safely say that the intuitive perception, or one's intuition, is always there. It is how one has cared to use it that makes the difference between one person and another person. For those who, through intense emotion, which emotions could be that of terrible suffering or could be that of extreme happiness, filled with joy for one reason or the other, or through terrible fear of some foreboding events, through such many have sought or have opened themselves through preparation. Then the impressions which assail them from within become very clear. In all naturalness, they still need to adjust to this impression, interpret it in the earthly conceptions of activities, of energetic activities. That means a space is created for it. And then the pause. By pause, that means the period in which that activity may last. This is what many refer to as earthly conceptions of time and space. That the frontal brain still has to mold it in such a way that it will make sense here in the earthly. So there is so much which the human personality has to adjust itself to. But in the beginning, as a child, the first challenge is to learn to make use of the physical body. At the beginning, it stays in one place. Later, it learns to move gradually by crawling. Before long, it will stand. Before too long, it will walk. For some, they can't wait for too long, they'll start running. And then learn to control the physical body. It is the inner personality that controls the physical body because it is a new opportunity for the human spirit to make use of in order to profit from the rich experiences which are able to get back to the spirit.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. Just to sort of summarize what you said there, is the abilities are always there. You said that the intuition, the five senses, and the intuition or intuitive perception are always there. It's just how we use them. And of course, we talked about the baby turning into an adult, a child, and so it's basically a development process there. And the more you use something, as we know, the more you practice, the better you get at it. So that all makes sense. And then I keep thinking of the title, which is the bandage, falls. We haven't gone into the fall yet, but the bandage. So there's something, barrier or blockage to see something that we're supposed to see. And so it's not so from what you have said, it's not the abilities that are stopping us, the intuitive ability and the five senses, they're not the ones that are stopping us from seeing in terms of not being developed or something. They're always there and available, like you said, for us to use. So it's what it seems to be, what I know, Gregory's life is about learning and growing. And, we go to school, like you say, and we learn things there. And then there's a life, experiences that also make us grow. Sadness, happiness, whatever incidents we go through. So that is also you could say, a learning curve, growing curve. But then there's this other, you could say, the bigger picture, which I mentioned earlier, about we are, let's say, blocked from seeing. And yet we are seeking to know what is that, like, why am I here? For example, there could be a question like that. What is my purpose? The same thing, really. How did I come here on this earth? We don't seem to know that. And where do I go after this life? These questions that's where the bandage is, I think. Things that we ask questions about. And it's not the abilities that are stopping us from, it's not the development of the ability that is stopping us from finding these answers. It's just that we're not using them maybe in the right way or deeply enough. So my question next, Gregory, is okay, let me ask a different question right now. So Gregory, are we able to answer all questions that we might have in our life? Why this happened to me, or why am I here? Is it because this word bandage, I just want to understand, if it is possible to remove this bandage, what are we allowed to, or what can we see with this removal of the bandage? Can we find answer to every question about our life and things in life?
Of course, depending on the inner maturity of the personality, questions assailing it can find answers. However, do not expect a 1-year-old child to be asking questions when he's barely unable to speak the language. There comes here on it a time when the personality or the human body reaches a stage of maturity where some natural bandages which had been put there to permit it to grow strong within the physical body. First, because it needs to know how to use this physical body in the right manner. For if it doesn't know how to use it, how will it then be able to extract the right questions to ask? So from birth to adulthood, which there's a variety, a bandage is placed there in all naturalness. When it has reached adulthood, gradually around that time, this bandage is removed. For those, or the bandage is gradually removed. For those who have paid attention to themselves, they can now start grasping the cooperation between the strong impression that strikes them and how to interpret it in an earthly fashion. Many who study music must have come across this, basically in the arts, because they will have to have listened to something, or for those who do so-called fine arts or drama, they would have had to have perceived something before they put it down. But it gets better with practice. And that is why, as you will find in the arts, as one is able to use this channel, the cooperation between the frontal brain and the spirit, as one is able to use it continuously without fail and use it vigorously, the more the person advances in age, the finer, the more precise, the richer are the works. Whereas in other areas, it's not quite so. So one should understand that there are barriers which are loosened slowly. Others, there are barriers which, out of their personal indolence, by not seeking to know more than presents itself in their self-chosen comfort zones. When one is in that particular scenario where nothing seems to touch it, to know more that there is in that particular zone, they become self-satisfied, and then indolence sets in because the external activities or impressions maybe frighten them that they don't wish to go out there to experience. So there is a variety. However, once adulthood has set in, then the personality is now, in quotes, set free to loosen itself, to respond to challenges, which challenges might have been the returns of the threats which they themselves, one time or the other, in this earth life or in previous earth life, have initiated.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. Again, we're expanding the topic and getting into a deeper understanding of of what this word bandage or what we're dealing with when we talk about bandage here. So, and you can just see it's like from what you've said, Gregory, what I can see, there's a natural course of development, like we say, from a child to adult, and certain things the child can do, and then it turns into adult. Until it becomes adult, it's not capable of doing that. So the bandage at first we thought might be, or we thought of it as a barrier, and we might have had the impression, oh, this is like something negative, something we are lacking, or something wrong with us, but not really. It is actually we are growing, and at the right moment, when we reach that level of, you could say, maturity, then we are now, that bandage is now removed, and we can see further, and that's the time you're meant to see it, not until you become that adult or mature, So it's like, and everything's like falling into place. It's making logical sense. So this is not something bad is happening to us. It's actually a part of our development. So that's a good feeling about that, that we're developing ourselves. One thing, Gregory, I want to say about this natural process. Is the natural process just be yourself or just grow, or is there something we are meant to, let's say, educate ourselves through some, I don't know, knowledge, like study, spiritual knowledge or religious knowledge? Is there, because we have these spiritual teachers coming to us over thousands of years, and guiding us, giving us a wider knowledge, you could say, about life, about the Almighty, about life after death, things like that, which I want to ask, Gregory, is that in addition to the, let's say, that's another level of bandage that we are carrying. So are we meant to, Gregory, grow? Are we meant to grow? Sorry, there's some sort of interference there. Hopefully everybody can hear us. What I want to ask you, Gregory, is there the whole process of this development, is it all natural, meaning that we just come across what we need as our life journey continues? Or is there some sort of study required or some sort of teaching to be given to us to open our eyes further to the, you could say, this knowledge of life, or this, to know more about life? Is there something further than just pure natural development?
The question one must ask oneself is, until you engage with something. How are you able to discern whether it is from this height or from that height? Whether it is a spiritual teaching or non-spiritual teaching? These are the questions each personality must ask themselves, not other people. In such a course, that which is non-spiritual will turn out to be solutions to temporary questions, whereas that which is of spirit provide solutions to near permanent or long-term, or solutions which may be used in many, many scenarios. For that which is truth transcends and yet has an impact on that which is temporary. Only through investigations, personal investigation, not only earthly intellectual investigation, but also non-earthly, that is spiritual, that which is striving within you, that is able to sense those very fine vibrations, which is of spirit. Therefore, it is important that one should engage in both, not only the earthly. For the earthly, because one requires the physical body to experience. For the non-earthly, because that which is of spirit is able to reach out way, way beyond that which is earthly, is able to reach out in other areas of nature, the ethereal, the animistic, and also the realm from which it has set out, the spiritual realm, is able to perceive strong impressions from these different areas. And in making use of these impressions, it is able to pass some of these to the frontal brain for earthly application. That means it should be the mediator between the fineness of the higher realms and the earthly, or the world of matter. Indeed, in its maturity, that is its task.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Again, as we explore further this topic, things are becoming clearer. And I will continue that a little bit in a moment. I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abrushin. And if you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. That's grailmessage.com. And just to remind you, this is our 5-year anniversary of this spiritual discussion program on Bless Radio, which we are very happy to celebrate, and it gives us joy, and hopefully it has brought you to some deep knowledge of what is in the Grail message, and what is our aim to show you what is the benefit of the knowledge in the Grail message for our lives, explaining many questions in our lives. And the topic we're having for discussion tonight is the bandage falls, and that topic, or the title, has been taken from the beginning of the Grail message, which is the foreword. It's called For Your Guidance, and it begins with the bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. So that's we are discussing tonight, the bandage falls, and you're welcome to join us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 07939 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Also, we are on YouTube Live. You go to youtube.com and then type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, Bless Radio 1 space live stream. That's one word. So it's Bless Radio 1 space live stream. And after the show, the next day, you can hear the recording of the show on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and then type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again, the number 1, then space Grail message, and then space the topic of the show, which tonight is the bandage falls. Now, Gregory, the previous question I asked about how we can come across the bandage that we have in different, how can I put that, the various bandages that we have, you could say, the physical, the spiritual, and then I was talking about there's a natural development. That's what we've been talking about, how this bandage falls. We haven't mentioned the word fall yet, but it does fall. As we grow, it falls, and then as a baby to an adult, there's one bandage falling there. And then there's the spiritual side, where, let's say, we want to know about life and things, and the bandage falls at different points, you could say, according to our maturity, you could say. So now, what I was talking about was, is it something natural that it just comes to you, or is it something you have to learn, like we go to school and learn things there? I mentioned something very, I will say, crucial about having this ability to discern, where, yes, people can tell you this is so-called, let's say, belief or opinion, and then you can accept it or you can decline it, or you can do your own research, you could say, like you use the word discern, which as soon as you say it, you can feel that, oh, there's some responsibility I have in not just to listen to whatever I'm being told, but actually understand or absorb what I'm being given, and then assess it, and then say, yes, I want to do it, or I don't want to do it. So this is like a really, Gregory, something great ability that we human beings been given to assess, what we are given, and not to just accept, like they say, blind faith or whatever we are taught. So maybe I should go into the second. I know we can have it as a new topic totally for another radio show, but in the forward where it says, for your guidance, the bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. So maybe that is the next step, Gregory. We have a belief, you know, which is like a bandage on us, and then the next step is to drop this belief or turn that belief into conviction. So, Gregory, is that another bandage? No, is that another bandage, another step in our journey, you know, to come to conviction?
Maybe when one rephrases this bandage, maybe things may be a bit clearer. Consider that on a daily basis, experiences assail you, which you do not have immediate answers to. It doesn't mean you have done anything wrong. Some form of experience just assail you. You are driving and something happens. You can't really understand why all of a sudden you are diverted from the path you had set out to take. However, faithfully, after grumbling, you follow an alternative path until you get to your destination. But it sets you thinking. From mere thinking and brooding over it, there is the calm reflection. But why? Some may even ask, why me? Then in the process, you stopped asking. But deep within you, that question is there. Still no solution. Only after a few days or a few weeks, it now became very clear to you that this same path you have been following, had you followed that path at that particular moment, there could have been either an accident or something unpleasant which you yourself could not discern at that particular moment. But however, one had been spared that experience. All one needed to do was to follow that alternative path. Then it's as if the bandage has fallen. That is a scenario. There are others in which there is no need for someone to know of something that is yet not necessary for it to experience. What happens nowadays in the education of children, where at a tender age, filled with the enthusiasm to learn to make use of their physical body. Many a teacher now decides to go further, even at an age of 1 or 2, to losing their attention on how to control their body and introduce the so-called sex education. Or consider the scenario of a mother or a father undressing in front of their children who are just maturing, gradually becoming conscious of the body functions, but have now been exposed too prematurely. There are many scenarios if one reflects very carefully. These scenarios are what strikes the human personality. If the human personality is not matured enough physically or spiritually, then it becomes detrimental to it. Another example is there are many who, due to their physical abilities and their non-physical abilities, are able to be responsive to non-earthly vibrations, albeit ethereal vibrations. To some extent, they become aware of it. But because they are not fully matured and are growing into it, now want to know so much, and they now resort to external help of some fluids, which instead of helping them, suppresses that ability or overexposes that ability, that causes so much confusion because they do not even understand the grace granted them. These are the scenarios that each person may come across as they mature in life. Do they need to have gone to school to learn this? That question is theirs. For when these strike the person, many will withdraw within themselves and reflect. Is that a school? Again, that's a personal question. For it's not everything you need to go to the classroom and sit down so that the lecturer or the teacher or the helper will educate you on. But that which you yourself are able to absorb and reflect on from adulthood and be able to come up with solutions, which solutions are in harmony with the natural laws. Only those ones are beneficial.
Thank you so much for that answer, Gregory. There's so many points you made there. I just want to sort of recap a bit from my own angle. You know, when you said you're going on a journey and then you come, let's say, to a diversion or you want to go A to B and then somehow you're forced to go on a diversion and you're thinking, what's happening here? And then somehow you like you said, later discover, oh, this was actually, you were saved from an accident or something else that might have happened. And then even it could be something else that when you go on a detour, you discover something you would never see because on that journey, because you're seeing something new and you say, oh, I didn't know that before. Like there's some, example I will give is, like say you'll see some shops on the detour, which you didn't see on your normal route that you would have gone. And then later you think, oh, you need something. And then the memory comes of those shops that you would not have known about had you not got on the detour. So it's like a wisdom, Gregory, a hidden wisdom. You don't have to know everything, why this, why that, going that way. Is the wisdom of the Lord, you can say, is in this activity of life. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to study everything. But somehow there's a perfect mechanism that seems to, it's what you need at that moment. It's provided. What you don't need to know, you don't need to know. It's like that. And you just trust in this, you could say, the wisdom. And many people call it, oh, that is the will of God. And they say it in a way casually. oh, this is the will of God. Almost, there's not, how can I say, when I say casually, in a very common words, using it in a, regularly, and not, how can I say, truly, I'm going to use the word understanding it, but just saying it out of blind faith, just like repetition of words that you're taught as a child, something like that, not really having the comprehension. But so in these moments that you pointed out, Gregory, the wisdom and you could say, the real appreciation of this experience, in that moment you may not realize it, but later, as you say, you discover, oh, actually this could have happened, or that has happened here, so it's like you say, Gregory, you don't have to go to school for this, to know these things, that you must go to school. No, the life is the school, the experience is the school. That is like a joyous thing, because you now think it's not like a hard work that I need to study this, I need to do this, I need to pass this exam to be able to progress in life. It's like the life is, everything is given to you in your life. It's quite uplifting to see that, inspirational, I would say, when you hear it like this. And again, it comes in with this natural process, not this feeling of having to achieve, you must do this and you must do that. So, and that my question before that, Gregory, was about the belief must become conviction, how belief must become conviction. And it's like, but when you answered it in this way, like a journey, it's not that, it doesn't sound like, oh, there's some technical barrier that I need to, the bandage must fall, that I can see this next step, the next level. It's all just natural journey of our life. It is sort of very uplifting. I'm just reflecting on this, Gregory, because that forward, just to repeat that, listeners, the title tonight, the topic we're discussing tonight is The Bandage Falls, and it comes from the forward of the Grail message, which says, it's titled For Your Guidance. And just to repeat that line from For Your Guidance, which is, the bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. And I just want to go into this. I know we can be having a complete topic on it as another show, but I just want to go into this, Gregory. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. And I felt liberation when you gave that answer, the last answer you gave. This looks like, in this sentence, when the bandage falls and belief becomes conviction, and then liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. It looks like, Gregory, that whole our journey of life is in these words, liberation.
Question is, liberation from what?
Exactly, that's my question. Liberation from what? If you can go and tell us more about that.
Of course, when one examines the scenarios very carefully, in a scenario, as many we may understand, there could be activities. There could be Act 1, Scene 1, Act 1, like you have in the theaters. And when viewed very carefully, one will find that in that scenario, the moment one comes to or moves from the position of cognition. By cognition, these are the structures that one has now experienced. Moves from cognition to another, which is recognition. then it's as if the inner attitude changes. The inner attitude is open. The inner attitude now allows joy, that joy of recognition, to be expressed in the strong emotion of happiness. I have found it. Haven't found it. Is that not liberation?
That's so beautiful, the joy from the liberation of coming to recognition or cognition, realizing. I mean, it's no point even saying the words, Gregory, because it's already so uplifting just to hear this liberation in this context that you've talked about of cognition, of finding something. You just feel so happy. And there's another part of that sentence, Gregory. Let me just repeat to everybody, for the listeners. The topic is tonight, listeners, the bandage falls. Again, it's taken from the foreword of the Grail message, which is titled For Your Guidance. And it begins with, the bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. So we just talked about liberation. And what is this liberation? And now, Gregory, there's the word redemption there. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. So the word redemption, Gregory, it sounds like we have sinned and now we need to redeem. So just to first get that clear, is that what it's referring to, redemption of sins?
It will be, when sins are mentioned, it means that one needed to make goods, to make a reparation based on what one had initiated in the past, whether in this earth life or in some past earth life. That being the case, when the returns come and one is able, through one's activity, to respond in such a way that a knot which was tied in the past is now severed through one's activities, and subsequently one came to recognize that that activity that assailed one, which would have destroyed or greatly incapacitated one, is so grossly reduced only in symbolic activities. It's as if one has redeemed. That redemption is expressed in freedom. That last one is what many who are deeply moved framed into a song of thanksgiving that many hear, free at last, free at last.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I'm going to ask you a further question on this in a moment. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abrushin. And if you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grail.org. www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is the bandage falls. The bandage falls. I won't repeat it totally, but basically it is taken from the foreword of the Grail message, which is titled For Your Guidance. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 07939 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1, blessradio1.com. Also, we are on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and put in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space live stream. That's to listen us to the live show. And you can listen to the recording of the show the next day. Again, you go to youtube.com and then type in the search box Bless Radio 1, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is the bandage falls. And you can listen to our previous shows as well. Gregory, I have had I think I will go to this. I've got a question. I'm just trying to think because I've got another question and the listener has asked a question. So let me maybe I'll go to the listener's question. 1 second. Okay. The question is from the listener. Does the spirit have higher senses? And can we use them on earth through the spirit to draw closer to the Almighty? So I just repeat that. Does the spirit have higher senses and can we use them on earth through the spirit to draw closer to the Almighty?
The spirit itself has that which one may refer to as the intuitive perception. That intuitive perception, when expressed on earth, is like a representative. It's as if it's distributed into the 5 senses. The sense of smell, of taste, of touch, of hearing, and of seeing. All this, it is the frontal brain that does the transformations into these different sensing. But within the strong vibrations of the spirit, the intuitive is an impression, whereas it manifests when not curtailed in the earthly form as expressions. That is what the spirit possesses, that it uses to experience as it moves from the earthly to the non-earthly, like the ethereal. It is the same intuition that it uses to perceive all around it, to send strong impression out and also to receive a bounce back to it. However, in that non-earthly, or the so-called ethereal, it is clothed in the ethereal form that it needs. In that area, it most likely does not have some of the functionality that you have on earth. For instance, in the ethereal form, there is no need for sexual activities that leads to reproduction like you have on earth. So there it is unnecessary. There are many other activities it may engage in, but it needs to purify. It needs to purify itself such that there are no knots or threads which will make it to hang around due to some propensities here on earth, such that when it needs to flow or it needs to go back, it only needs to experience what it needs from one realm to the other, gaining from being conscious of the surrounding, conscious of the environment, to self-consciousness. Self-consciousness in the sense that those innate abilities, those innate qualities which have been implanted through the grace of the Almighty in His core, which abilities or talents need to be cultivated and allowed to grow. Those skills of good volition, of patience, of perseverance, of love, undying love. Some of these it needs to cultivate such that in practicing these qualities, even as far away from its origin, which is the spiritual realm, it will gradually come to know how to respond to this, such that when it gets back, its intuition will flare fully, where no wrong can be done. It will sow joy and happiness for the happiness, not for itself alone, but for others, just as others sow joy and happiness for its own profit, for its own benefit. Not only those of the same maturity, but in accordance with the laws of creation, which laws are living, automatically those higher than itself, who did not need to come to the world of matter to mature, also provide joy, point out, direct, such that they may also partake of the goodness that come from on high. Only then will it say it has arrived back home in paradise. That paradise the quarters which many have known, such quarters, such areas called the Jerusalem, which, as a matter of fact, is what many have the longing to go back to, and many songs have been woven around it.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. You covered so much in this answer, like the story of our spiritual development, our goal, and even you mentioned there, Gregory, I mean, I was going to talk about something different about it, but basically there's a longing, longing within us, which is never extinguished, really, which is, let's say, seeking happiness, seeking love, seeking peace, and seeking that, why am I here? All these questions that I've just said, or things I've mentioned, there's something driving us forward. It's like implanted inside us. And so, Gregory, so you've told us the journey of our development. That is, you could say, if I can say it in this way, coming from an unconscious spirit to becoming conscious, to becoming a self-conscious spirit, which, yes, on this earth, that is only part of our journey, but actually the final goal is, let's say, the spiritual realm, you could say heaven, where this conscious, self-conscious spirits exist there. So that's really, let's say, the goal for us. So, Gregory, just to say that, like you could say, emphasize it one more time. All this, Gregory, is really implanted in us, that to get to this in a, like a natural process, that the whole of what our development is meant to be, it's all within us already. It's already there, Gregory. All these things are unconscious. We did say we started life as unconscious and became conscious, and then to become self-conscious. Is that all implanted within us, Gregory, to naturally start our journey and reach the final goal of our journey?
Most, or what has been implanted within us, are the seeds. But seeds, when not permitted or given the right environment, if the seeds are not in the right environment and tended as such, they will not grow, but will remain in the same structure without exposing themselves. Only when these seeds, which have been implanted in the container, which one may refer to as the seed germ, only when they journey out to those regions where movement is not so fast, in which it's as if they are placed in a cocoon, to allow it to grow. Just as you will find that in the womb of the woman, where the egg is fertilized and allowed to grow in peace, even when there are so many activities, upbuilding activities going on there. And that is what happens. Only when it goes through these regions, will it grow? And to some extent, when it reaches a particular stage of maturity, it falls out. That means it is born, where again the journey of experiencing continues. It continues such that it learns to use that which has been granted through the grace of the Almighty that had placed these structures, these paths, hewn them into the work of creation, into the works of nature, such that the personality gradually will go through this process and mature. Mature in the sense that it will learn the language. Which language creation or nature speaks to it? Like a process of request and response. Request and response in accordance with what nature or creation provides for it. Only then, when it has mastered it very well, will it know what is required of it. Now it has grown from this stage of being merely a child of nature or a child of creation to a living child of the Almighty, as if it has now been adopted. Those innate qualities have now come out. Then it can cooperate with the further activities in creation. Then it becomes the mediator. And that is why in some recognitions it is said worlds without end, because the opportunities are then available for the human personality to cooperate with further development which has no end in creation.
Thank you for that, Gregory. In the beginning of your answer, you mentioned the environment, and I got the impression that maybe the journey of the spirit germ into a spirit personality, let's say, from unconscious to self-conscious being, it sounded as if that it is the environment that controls the journey. And almost like the spirit doesn't seem to have any say in that. So it's almost like you're in the hands of nature. So if you could just clarify, Gregory, so this journey, from this spirit germ to becoming a personality, a self-conscious personality, so the unconscious spirit germ turning into a self-conscious personality, is that just purely nature driving that?
In the responses which one gave, it was mentioned that there are requests or there are impressions, external impressions, which assail the personality. And gradually, the personality has to respond to these external challenges, depending on the environment in which it is. Here on Earth, one may take a simple example. The environment in which we live has certain challenges. We ourselves have to respond to it. Look at the COVID. Don't we respond to the challenges of the COVID? Or do we bury our heads in the sand like an ostrich? So there are always challenges, external challenges, internal challenges. Hunger is also a challenge. One has to respond to it. Whatever comes out of us into the environment strikes not only ourselves and others, but even the plants. So there are always give and take. There's always an exchange. In the exchange, which is dynamic, which has been brought into being by the laws of creation, that law of sowing and reaping, that law which makes sure that there is always movement. Motion is a law. However, there are motions which come to closure in the pause, in time, whereas the energy of these motions may be represented as space, which has come into the ordinary parlance of many a person. So it is not that the environment strikes us and we respond only. We ourselves also contribute to the environment, also on a temporary basis form part of that environment. So we are not fully separated from the environment as if we have no imprint. All these are intrinsic to the dynamic formations which keeps going on to bringing things together in accordance with the laws of creation. That's which are similar, that's of homogeneity coming together, forming unions. Later on, having some alliances within the unions, breaking down, reforming themselves. Some power, transient, no, but always there, that ensure that motion continues. These are the things that the human spirit needs for us to understand, such that it can adjust itself in its maturing and growth to be able to become self-conscious, knowing of its own innate capabilities, and therefore knowing how to speak the language and understand the language of creation. All the vast amount of forces seen, not only that of human personality, for there are those who are also for the maintenance of this work called creation. These are what the human spirit needs to learn, and learn to cooperate, speak it in such a way it will only bring happiness and joy. Whenever that is not the case, warfare and continuous destruction is the result.
Thank you for this explanation and answer there, Gregory. We've coming to the end of the show now, so I want to read, as we do quite regularly, from the forward of the Grail message. And it's very apt for tonight because it topic we've been discussing tonight is the bandage falls, which is the first few words from this beginning of the Grail message, which is called the foreword of the Grail message, which is called "For Your Guidance." The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive, the creation of your God. Akrushin. So, dear listeners, we come to the end of the show. This was our 5-year anniversary on Bless Radio. We've been broadcasting every week, only missed a few weeks due to sort of circumstances out of our control, but we have done this big milestone, and we hope you have enjoyed and found our discussions enlightening. The aim, as always, is to you through the Grail message, and we really encourage you to pick up the Grail message, to examine it for yourself. I'm just going to remind you of the website which you can find the Grail message on, or you want to get more information about. So that is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that www.grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Gregory, would you like to say anything to the listeners to say goodbye?
Yes, first, just to say thanks for listening, and that the walk in the light of truth, the Grail message, speaks for itself, that our efforts is only to help first ourselves and our listeners to appreciation or just to light a candle, such that they themselves can move forward convincingly and courageously.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Gregory, for that. Dear listeners, I also thank you for listening to us. And as Gregory has said, and I've said before many times, do take the courage to examine this Grail message and discover for yourself what great knowledge there is, which will benefit. It can only benefit. That's what I would say, if you have the courage to pick it up. So all the best, everybody. Have a great week. God bless, and we'll be back next week with another new topic. All the best, everybody. Take care. All the best. Bye.